Jennifer McCulloch with another episode of Beautiful Conversations. So I love having deep dive conversations with people. I like learning and growing, and my whole point in this is to share unscripted, real life conversations about a specific topic. And with that, I'm hoping that we can kind of create a sense of community where we just learn that we're really not all that different from one another. We're kind of all on this journey together, just trying to figure it out. So with me today, I'm so excited because I have Rick Gray, who Rick is here from Boise, but he's originally from Portland. And he's a...
Westland.
Westland?
Westland. It's a suburb.
Okay. People will know. The Oregon people
That's
will
right.
know.
They'll know.
So Rick is a successful realtor. He's an author, a business coach. He's getting ready to do some exciting new things with Who's AI. You'll probably see a lot more content about that coming up. But Rick, I'm just so excited that you're here today, so thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, so Rick was my personal coach in real estate for several years and literally impacted my life in so many ways. So I'm just really excited to be able to have this conversation with you today. And the word that we decided to talk about was comparison. So I don't know about all of you, but this is a tough one for me.
Comparing yourself to others.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
The inherent problem with that, right, is you typically compare your insides to other people's outsides.
I love that, yes.
Which is not necessarily apples to apples here.
That's so true. It's so true. Yeah. You guys, I don't know where we learned to do this or why, but it's so easy to just look at somebody from the outside and think, oh my gosh, they're so successful. They have it all together. They've got it figured out. I'm not as smart. I mean, for me, these are the things I think. I'm not as smart as them. I probably couldn't do that as well as they could. And, going through, well, first of all, coaching with you has taught me a lot. I'll never forget the day you said to me, stop putting people on pedestals.
Yes.
You are just as smart. You're just as capable. Okay. And why we do this to ourselves, I don't know. I mean, has this ever been a struggle for you in your career?
Oh, of course it has. I remember, when I went to college thinking everybody else here at college knows what they want to do with their life. They're way farther down the road than I am with whatever their major is, or they're getting their master's degree. Like, I don't even know what I want to do. And I always thought everybody else had their act together, and it was me that was floundering. Yeah. Come to find out years later, everybody was thinking that way.
everybody's just trying to figure it out. I mean, that's kind of how I was, because I know for years, even just being in real estate, I felt so bad that I didn't have a college degree. Like somehow all of these other realtors who I didn't even know if half of them had college degrees or not. I mean, just in my brain, it was like, obviously they did.
Right.
They had to have. Yeah. And so I would not be involved in certain things, certain leadership things. I kind of held back with my ideas and opinions because I almost made myself feel small because I didn't have that in my life.
So that word genshai, right? Did you see my ice bath a couple of weeks ago?
Yes.
That's a great word. Genshai meaning don't make anyone feel small, including yourself.
And that is from a book too.
Kevin Hall has a book, yes, and it's called Genshai.
And does he have a book? Is it in his book Aspire?
Yes, it's also in Aspire. That's a word book. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Learning new words.
We'll talk about that book another time because it's on my list.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually. Yeah. It's so true. And I think about, when you see these business professionals and just feeling like they, behind the scenes, they have it together, and learning that it's a process, right? Like sometimes we just have to find one thing and focus on that and become a little bit better. And why it's so hard to overcome this comparison thing. I feel like it's taken me several years, and I've actually had to purposely work on it. I'm a lot better now. It's not as problematic as it was, but as we embark into new adventures and new things, it creeps in again, and then I start going, oh my gosh, look what that person is doing, and look what they're talking about. And
well, I have coached hundreds of clients over the years, and I can tell you, I don't remember literally anybody that I've had lots of conversations with that didn't say, oh, I'm sure all your other clients have it together, Rick. I'm the one client that's totally disorganized. It's like, no, everybody says that. Yeah, everybody thinks that everybody else has their act together, they know what they're doing, they have a very regimented schedule, and like they're just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love hearing that from you because you do have these conversations with such a variety of clients from all over. I mean,
yeah.
from individual agents like myself to large teams to offices.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the people that I coach that sell the most, like hundreds of homes. I coach a couple that sell almost 1,000 homes a year, have big teams, that kind of thing. They might have what's called a superiority complex.
Okay.
Like they just go forward into stuff believing they're going to be able to do it. And it doesn't even always work out, but that doesn't shake that confidence. It's like,
I wish I had that.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's that unshakable confidence of no matter what I do will work. And even if it doesn't, the next time they do something, they think this is going to work. Where other people start thinking too much, questioning, analyzing, talking ourselves out of why this isn't going to work. And I see that all the time.
Yeah.
And people that just, it's almost like, it's not that they're dumb, but they just don't have that self-doubt. They're just like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And I was like, oh, wow. And it actually worked.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe some of the things that I've seen people do that if you would have asked me, I never would have done, or I would have talked myself out of it. That's not going to work. And I literally watched them do something. It's like, oh, wow,
Just
okay.
no fear.
No fear.
Just go for it.
Just do it.
I wish I could do that. I mean, that fear of failure or just feeling like you're not good enough to make it happen, or getting caught up in the how. That's another big one for sure.
Yeah, how am I going to do
Yeah,
this?
I mean, it just gets too overwhelming, so you just don't do it at all.
Well, Jim Rohn, my mentor, taught me that, right? If the why is big enough, you can overcome any how.
Yeah.
But if the why is not big enough, the hows will stop you.
That's so true. That's so true. And I've learned that. And the reason I love, again, sharing this topic and conversations, because I look at so from the outside in, if you knew me like 25, 30 years ago, you would probably wonder how I got to where I am.
Like a little baby, 25?
Yeah, I wish. You're so nice. I just had my hair done, so all the grays just got covered.
Mine's gray, so a little salt and pepper going here.
Yeah, it looks good. The beard looks good, by the way. So, but I mean, I was the one who, you're going to see me at all the parties and happy hour, and just, I wasn't super focused in business all the time. And I was kind of one of those who I always had to learn the hard way. I always had to make the mistake. But what I love is I always learned the lesson.
Yeah.
And I think that's one difference is there's some people who just keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. And at some point you have to go, I got to do this different, or do I want a different life for myself, something better? And I know for me, I could look into your life when we, would be talking about different things and then bring in that comparison, because I felt like, gosh, she's so disciplined and you just seem to have it figured out, and, you really kind of seem so diligent. And then of course, as we talk, I'm finding you still had to kind of go through stumbling blocks. You just maybe did it in a little different fashion.
Right. So for me, growing up, I was always pretty disciplined. I think that's just, it's funny. I remember my dad telling me when I was a kid, when you just said making mistakes, I remember my dad telling me, learn from other people's mistakes. You'll never have enough time to make them all yourself. I'll never forget him telling me. He told me that over and over when I was young. So I was like, yeah, okay. So I went, I was the guy that would go to the college frat parties, and I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do drugs at all. Everybody else there was literally passed out at some point in the evenings. Then I'd sit there and watch TV or whatever. It's but I never did any of that.
Designated driver.
Yeah, I was. I was always a designated driver. Still am. It's funny, but because I never did. So I was always disciplined. But that doesn't mean I always knew what I wanted to do. I remember graduating from college, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Yeah. And that's where I was really insecure. I thought everybody else had their act together, their track was gone, and it was this is what they're gonna do. And I'm I'm so far behind everybody. I really had that feling where, I remember with Dawn, my wife, when we were dating the first few years, it was I cried a lot. At night, it's I didn't know what I want to do with my life. Yeah. And I was so frustrated that I thought I should know what I want to do with my life. In comparison, I saw other people that seemed like they knew what they wanted to do. Yeah. And of course, I never asked any of them specifically.
I think that's the problem, right? And that's why I love having these conversations, because I want people to realize, I post stuff on social media, living my best life. And I feel like I am, because I'm choosing it every day. It's an actual decision that I think you actually have to make. But that doesn't mean we have it all figured out.
But we came from different paths, right? We came from different ways of doing it. You being more of a partier and having fun, me being more disciplined, but still not really knowing what I wanted to do. But eventually,
And now here we are
figured it out.
coming together and embarking on this, next journey and just how you've impacted, like I said, my life with, I mean, success in my career. A lot of it I can attribute to you with learning. I mean, obviously I had to do the work. You have to be willing to do
Right.
it. Somebody
That's right.
can show you, what is the saying? Like you can bring a horse.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Exactly. It's so true.
Yeah. Well, Jim Rohn used to say that about our seminars. So I did sales seminars and used to promote Jim Rohn, and Jim just had so much good stuff. I love Jim Rohn, and I love the stuff that he taught because his lessons were so impactful in my life, plus a lot of other people. But we'd have people that come to the seminar, and we had refunds, people that didn't like it or whatever. And Jim would always say, some people, the same message, would hear the same message. And some people would say, oh, well, ho-hum, I've heard all this before.
Yeah.
And other people say, I'm going to change my life. This is great.
Yeah.
And he always said, what's the difference? I wouldn't bother going down that road.
Yeah.
It's like some will, some won't. And that's just the way it is. And he used to say, he's famous for this story, he's like, well, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on that. Like, why is that? It's like, learn how things are and then adjust accordingly. Don't live your life in shoulds and shouldn'ts. Because I used to be like, I can't believe these people aren't coming to Jim's seminar. They're in sales. They would benefit so much. I used to get so mad. And Jim's like, Rick, I'll never forget this. We were sitting at a stoplight in Dallas, Texas one time. I had just done a presentation for a mortgage company. I think there was, and I was pretty good. I was the top producer on the team. I became a partner in Jim's company, but I'd sell quite often. Almost everybody there, and sometimes everybody there at my talks would buy a ticket for the seminar, right?
Okay.
But every now and then, I wouldn't sell any. And I remember this one mortgage talk I did, I didn't sell any. I was sitting in the car with Jim, and he's like, what's wrong? You could just sense it. I'm driving, he's in the passenger seat, we're sitting at a stoplight in Dallas, Texas, and I said, I can't believe these people don't want to go. I mean, the information that you share would change their business and would help them.
Yeah.
And it would help their life. And I remember he looked at me and he said, Rick, you can't save everybody.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
And it was like he didn't care. I mean, he was like, some will, some won't.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Keep spreading the message. Keep getting in front of people. Keep telling people what you like about our information and what you think our information offers. And then it's going to be what it's going to be. And don't think you should be doing something better or different.
Yeah. I love that. In fact, there's a book, Big Magic, and it's and I'm just spacing her name. It's the one who wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I can't believe it'll come to me. Anyway, but she talks about that in Big Magic, how if you get into something because you just want to help everyone, you want to save everyone, and then when you don't or you can't, you're frustrated. And she's like, you just have to do it knowing I'm doing this because I believe in it and I love it. And then if the people who want the help or need the help, they'll come to you, and if they want it, they'll take it. But you just have to realize you have no control over that. And I think that's been another really hard lesson for me in changing my life over the last several years. It really took my divorce for me to just go, what do you want to do with your life? Like, you're almost 40 years old. I'm starting over financially, in every which way. And it was like, you're doing it different. And so, once you start doing that and working through that and realizing the peace that you feel inside and the joy and the people who come into your life that are incredible.
So what was the big catalyst for you though, Jen? So you had gone down a road that you'd been successful in your career.
I definitely wasn't unsuccessful, but I wasn't like.
But something shifted for you in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, again, I go back to, it was divorce because all of a sudden I'm on my own. I mean, it's like, nobody's here to save you. Nobody is going to save you.
Yes.
So you get to choose who you want to be, what you want to be, what your life looks like. And it's not like at the time I went, I want to make all this money. It was not about money for me. It was about proving to myself that I could be more, I could do more, and I knew I had it inside me, and I was too afraid to live up to my potential.
Right.
It actually, I feel like the fear of success frightened me a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is always so odd to me, because it's usually fear of, failure.
Failure, right? Yeah. Well, I think it's funny. I wish we could learn. That's why I like to journal and write in my journal, because I've done a lot better job. But I'm similar in that the biggest influence on my life was the financial recession of 2008.
Yeah.
For you, it was a divorce. It was like, to me, it was like that financial situation where I lost a lot of things, a house, a car, my humility, as I was humiliated, right? And it was like,
it hurts.
I don't want to live like this anymore. And it's like, and then the realization, what you just said was so resonated with me. Nobody's coming to help you.
Yeah.
As sad as that sounds, everybody else has their own stuff they're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, you have to save yourself. And sometimes, unfortunately for me, I had to hit rock bottom financially in order to like, okay, nobody's coming.
Yep.
There's no rich uncle that's going to give me a bunch of money, and there's nobody that's going to, it's like, I've got to figure this out. I literally cried every night for like 2 years. Oh. 2007 and 2008.
Well, I remember how hard it was because the same thing happened.
We're tough. 2007 and 8 were very tough years. I'm like, and I reevaluated my whole life and what am I going to do? Can I stay in real estate? And am I going to make this work or not? I mean, I had two little kids.
I was going to say, and you had a family at the time.
So Alex was born in 06 and Haley was born in 08.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it was like, that was added to the frustration and the humiliation because I thought, well, I was making good money in real estate. From 2000 all the way to 2006, I rarely earned less than like $300,000 a year. It was just Dawn and I. Yeah. So I just spent everything. It's like,
We're having a great time.
And all of a sudden we have kids and you're responsible for something. And then all of a sudden, boom, no income. Yeah. And it was just, so frustrating. I look back and think, what bad decisions I made during some of those years financially. But that pain has lasted to today where it keeps me motivated to do more things. It's like, I'm not going back there. I don't want to go back there. I know what that pain is like and I will do anything. If it's making cold calls, if it's reaching out to people I don't feel like reaching out to, it's like, I don't care. How hard is this? It's not that hard. It's like, compared to that, this is pretty easy.
And then what's hard is getting over the scarcity, complex moving forward. Because we've also talked about that. Because I went through it maybe in a little different degree, but was definitely hit by the recession. So, like I say, when I went through my divorce, I did have my home still. But what's so funny is I was upside down in it at the time. Yep. And here I was on my own. I was, making between 50 and 60,000 a year and I was comfortable, but I wasn't like flourishing, right? Sure. And a lot of it for me was turning inward and going, I want to feel better about who I am as a person. It wasn't just the financial aspect. I mean, there was that because I'm like, hey, I want to keep this home and I want to do things in my life. But really it was like, how do I feel good about who I've become and where my life is going? And so I, kind of started down this path. And I feel like, we say nobody's coming to save you. You have people along the way that can be there to help you and guide you, and they come in when you need them the most. But it's up to you to accept that.
Well, again, a Jim Rohn, I'll keep saying Jim Rohn stuff because it affects my life a lot. But one thing he always said that I love was, if you will change, everything will change for you.
Oh, right? I love that. I need that like on my wall.
If you will change, everything will change for you. If you won't change, nothing will change. Yeah. So if you keep doing the same things, and that's what happened to me during the recession, I thought, okay, I'm just going to work harder. I'm just going to outwork other people, right? Yeah. Well, I realized bringing old skills to a new game doesn't work. The game changed, and I wasn't able to do the stuff I did before to actually make it work, and it took me 2 years of misery, I'm a slow learner, to figure that out before I finally said, okay. And for me, the answer, just to tell everybody, because probably, well, what did you do? Well, I did short sales. In 2009, I did over 100 short sales in 2009, because that's where the market was going. But I had to really hit rock bottom to start looking, okay, I have to do something different. I tried to get jobs. Nobody would hire me. I applied for tons of jobs during the recession. I was trying to figure out how am I going to pay the bills for my family.
Did you feel like because I always look at you and think like you have this mental strength, right? But back then, would you say then you didn't really feel that? Like you kind of had to, that's probably when you really started developing it even more. Because,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought I had everything all figured out until the spigot turned off May of 2007. I'll never forget. So May of 2007, all of a sudden there's no real estate going on in the Portland area. And it's like, okay, well, I've got savings. I thought I had 6 months of my expenses in an account. It's like, oh, no problem. I'm not worried about it.
We all thought, it's just going to get better.
Of course, it burned through that, and then there was still nothing going on. It was like, okay, now we're in trouble.
Yeah, it was a scary time. I remember being in the grocery store and having a calculator and going, we have exactly, $100 to spend, and this basically has to feed us for like the whole month. I'm not exaggerating. And you're penciling every little to the penny because it's like, that's all I have, there's no more. And it's an unfortunate situation, but I'm also, like you say, grateful for it because those are the things that help you go, what can I well, first of all, become more mentally strong? What do I need to do to get myself in a better place? For me, after, again, I go back to the divorce because that was really my changing point. But I stopped, I didn't go out and party. I didn't drink for a long time. I was focused on, I did a lot of running, a lot of exercise. I did a lot of reading. And that's when I really started getting into meditation. And that was like a game changer for me. And
well, I think you did something really key there, which is something I did as well. You turned, eventually, after all the banging my head against the wall, you and I both turned inward.
That, you're right.
Right? It's not it that's the problem. It's you.
Yeah.
And once as that was pounded into my head under Jim Rohn for all these years, but when I finally affected my real life, it's like I kept looking out for answers. Who's going to come help me? What could I do to make money? I kept looking outward, and I realized I need to change this. What am I thinking? What are my thought process? What's my personal philosophy? How do I feel about the world, the economy, markets, making money, friends, people? I mean, that was what was messed up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I needed anything new when I realized I needed to learn new skills and reinvent. So you have to at some point turn in. That's why I love journaling. I like reading. I like thinking. And I think most people don't think. They just act all the time.
That's so very true. I love that. The inward piece is so tremendous. And so anybody watching that's just, it's so easy again to see people from the outside and go, oh my gosh, they have this beautiful home or a nice car. Or they're traveling all the time, doing all these things. But it's like understanding what it took to maybe get there, or understanding, how you can find what's success and what's comfort to you internally is where it has to begin.
And it's so hard for people to do that, Jen, because most people want to look good and be right.
Yeah.
And if you're always looking good and you're always being right, you're not learning anything new. And I tell this to all my coaching clients, I say this, come from curiosity. Instead of hating on somebody because they sell a lot of houses, it's like, how are they doing it? Maybe I should learn what they know. Maybe I should try and figure out, how did they do this? I used to love growing up. I always loved business books about like successful businesses, like the Harley Davidson company started in a garage. And it's like, all these different companies that were small and how did they become big? I've always been fascinated by that. Instead of jealous of that, or I hate this company, which I see a lot of that in our world.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
like, come from curiosity. How did they do it? Oh, that's interesting. I mean, maybe I don't like what they stand for or what they sell or whatever, but boy, they sure did a good job. And it would be fascinating to understand some lessons. Maybe I could apply those to my life. But if you could just come from curiosity, I think that would be a big help for a lot of people, instead of coming from judgment. I was gonna say, what's the other way to come from, Rick, if you're not curious? Well, judgment. A lot of people come from judgment. I know everything already, and I'll look at your business and go, oh, well, I'll just discount her because of this, or I'll discount him because of that, because I know better. So just get rid of that piece.
I think we will judge people because then somehow if we can put them down or create, it makes us feel better about ourselves, right? Like,
there's two ways to build the tallest building in town. One way is to build the tallest building in town, which is probably what you should do. The other way is to tear everybody else's buildings down. Right? The problem with that, and that's a lot of people's philosophy. The problem with that philosophy is it's not really gratifying for you. And you're not going to make a lot of friends. I mean, people are going to start to see you coming after a while, and they're not going to want anything to do with you. So there's going to be more and more of a negative spiral.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys, I hope whoever needed to see this today is watching. I feel like in the past when I've done these, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is dumb. Why are you doing this? And inevitably, somebody will reach out to me and just say, thank you, I needed to hear that today. And so I've started to look at this as like, I love doing it. I love having conversations with people like this. You learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about other people, about life. And just to realize, again, we're in this together. Nobody has it figured out. Somebody might have some things figured out a little better, but let's learn from them and figure out how they achieve that and how they can make
so here's one thing Brian Tracy used to say. So Brian Tracy was another person I worked with on the road with Jim Rohn. And Brian said, everybody comes from some degree of ignorance on everything, because nobody knows all there is to know about anything. Any one thing. Pick a subject, whatever it is. There's not one person alive that knows everything there is to know. So to some degree, we all come from some sort of ignorance. So somebody says or acts like they know everything and they got all the answers, either they're deluded or they're lying to you. But a lot of people are influenced by those people because sometimes they're the most confident people. And they tell you, this is how you should do it, and this is how things should be, right?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I think just understanding the work it takes to get there. I got to make this point because it just made me reflect a little bit on when I was going through all this. And, there was days where, I was just so depressed. I didn't want to get, I would stay in bed for like 2 or 3 days at a time sometimes because I just, when you're going through something traumatic in your life, sometimes you have to just feel the pain, right? And I think the biggest thing is just not living there. You've got to know when to pick yourself up and move forward. But when I was going through that, I would start every day just going, I'm so happy my life is full of joy. And it was like the whole fake it till you make it. And I know some people don't love that, but for me,
affirmations.
I had to do these affirmations, and I will never forget the day I woke up and I sat up and I literally had the thought, I'm not faking it anymore. Like I
feel good today.
I feel so good inside. And you guys, and when you talk about this joy and happiness too, it's not just like doing all these crazy fun things in life and like laughing all the time. I mean, that's a part of it, but it's a piece of just like, I'm content with my life. I'm content with who I am. Like I feel good about the people that I'm surrounded with. Yeah. It's so much deeper. So,
well, that for me, the way I like to do that is I have an objective, right? At least usually every week, I have a weekly objective. This is what I'm trying to accomplish in my health, my family, my business. Those are my 3 categories: health, family, and business. And I always think about, what am I actually trying to accomplish this week? And then if I know what that is and I'm very clear on it, it's very easy to say no to all this other stuff. And all the other stuff is what causes the stress.
Yeah.
People are wondering, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Well, maybe I should do this. And that is weight.
You get overwhelmed. Like
a lot of weight. So it's like, you know what? No, this is what I'm doing. I'm crystal clear on what I'm doing. And if you said, hey, Rick, can you go do this? Like, nope, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can stay focused, it makes you feel a lot more self-satisfaction and peace because I know what I'm doing and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I can't do everything.
Pick one thing. Just, decide if you're like, I'm ready for a change in my life. Just pick one small thing. That's where it starts. Just baby steps, one small thing, and focus on that and work on that. And find the people in your life that are going to support you and help you. And again, going back to what Rick said, be curious. Ask them, what have you done in your life? Instead of just going, oh, I wish I was like you. Ask the questions because I have found most people are willing to talk about it and willing to share with you. So anyway, thank you again, Rick. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Jen, for having me.
A little shout out to Dawn, who is unable to be here. Hi. And thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a beautiful day and enjoy having beautiful conversations on your own. Thanks.
Love it.